Oh my God, Steve, we're back doing a podcast. How you doing?
Good, Jeff. What's going on, man? It was good seeing you a week or two ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago we were all at the World Speed Shoot. I always refer to it as old home days because we get to see all the people we talk to online and but don't necessarily get to see face to face. And it was there was a lot of people there. I trying to do a better job at remembering people's names. But I got to meet a lot of new people, and a cast of the regulars were there. It was a lot of fun. I was there
Yeah,
for all week.
yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that because there was quite a few. I don't know if they were first timers or newbies or what have you to the World Speed Shoot. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of first time top shooters too. People that were able to come out and get there and shoot. It was a lot of fun. I can never say anything bad about the match, regardless of the outcome. And I was very fortunate to have a good outcome this year. But it's always fun being there. I wrote an article, and one of the things that I wrote was that you're kind of every year they're just polishing a diamond and just trying to make it a little brighter. The one thing that stuck out to me was the slight change of orientation in the bays with the stages. Did you notice that?
A couple of stages I did,
Yes.
but some of them were just the way that they were a couple weeks, well, probably a month prior at the Alabama State Steel Challenge Championship. So that was cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, it was definitely a match to put in the books. A match to put in the books. I think everything went really smooth. Uh, they've really got that match at that range dialed in for getting going. And, I thought the RO crews did a great job again this year. There were some new ROs, new CROs at the match, and I thought it went very smooth. I have to have a little joke with you, and at the expense of one Alex Burns, he was running me on outer limits, and I was pushing it, and I hit the first plate and missed the back plate, kept going, missed my next shot, purposely stepped outside the box, shot the stop plate, turned around and said, "Score that."
That's pretty funny.
At that point, I knew that was going to be a throwaway, so it wasn't worth keeping. And it was funny because I thought I was saying, yeah, I'm gonna hit for the cycle on that stage, and I forget the RO's name. I think it was Tom, the CRO on that stage. I could be wrong, but he's like, well, we didn't get to check off the missed stop plate box. And I was like, oh, I could have done that. Just cranked a shot at the stop plate, missed it, and then went,
Yeah.
okay, now score that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you put a lot into the tablet, ALOT, and make that your time. Hey, did
So
I
that
tell
was,
you?
go ahead.
Did I tell you what happened to me on Outer Limits?
I did
Let's
not
not.
hear what.
Oh my good, you're probably one of the only people that didn't.
Okay.
So I shot I shot 4 divisions this year. Shot what did I shoot? I shot PCCO, rimfire pistol open. Then I went to shoot rimfire rifle open, and then I shot open. That's what it was. And then so I had kind of a shaky first day on Saturday. It was all me. Guns ran amazing. Ammo was perfect. Platforms ran great. Then I get to shoot rimfire rifle open. I'm shooting my new JP22. Actually put a yeah. I'll share that a later time. And then what I ended up doing is so a lot of people haven't seen the JP22, want to feel the weight, blah blah blah. So we started on Smoke and Hope. Nothing stellar, got 2-3 strings that were good, and the other two, So I don't know, maybe 6.4, 6.5, somewhere in there. So not anything that's gonna break your day, right? But not where I wanted to be for sure. Certainly wanted to be in the fives and that kind of thing. And then the next stage is it outer limits, right? Yeah, past the vendor area. So we get to outer limits, getting ready to get up there, and so I give my gun to a couple people over that safe table right there, and I'm like, hey, check it out, feel, and so on and so forth. And then yeah, all good. And there's a couple of people that want to see it, and so I get up there, you know, make ready command, do my thing, seeing things good. Jeff, look, I'll be straight up with you. I was practicing the heck out of outer limits going into the match. So I was shooting it, low nines, probably right at 9,
All
pretty
right.
comfortable
Yeah,
at the
that's
house,
fast.
right? So
Definitely fast.
I'm ready to turn it up and all that kind of stuff. And um, so I get up there and I said, make ready, and then okay, are you ready? Stand by, beep. And then I get up, nothing happened. And so I knew exactly what had happened,
Oh,
Jeff.
can I guess?
Yes, you'll know it.
They put the safety on.
They put the safety on. They put the safety on, Jeff. So I turned around, yelled the person's name. I said, "Did you put my safety on?" And he just like got consumed into the crowd. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I think I ended up, of course, that was a bad deal. I don't know what it was.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
then you had to be a little more conservative on the next 3 because you had to get scores that would count.
Oh, it was bad, Jeff. I think my last one was like a 320 or something like that. I don't even want to look at the score. Jeff, I think it was like a 14. The next one, I think I had a miss or makeup or something like
Sure.
that. It was horrible. So I shot a 14 on outer limits. I'll have to go back through the archives to see when the last time was I shot a 14 on outer limits. I bet you it's probably been like 8 years.
Oh my Lord.
So yeah. So we did an informal poll with all the shooters in our squad, and couldn't find not a single other person that shoots a rifle that ever puts a safety on.
No,
I didn't even know my gun had a safety, Jeff.
I have to admit, shooting a lot of open with an open gun when I was shooting open or shooting limited, definitely those kinds of guns you're always making sure the external safety's on before you're putting it into the holster. But as far as any rifle, I can't honestly think of any time I've ever purposely put the safety on. Now my PCC and USPSA, of course, that
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
That's a
mean,
whole
in Steel
different field.
Challenge, outside of the center fire guns that are coming from a holster that have an external safety, yeah,
Right.
I've never set one. So,
Yep.
well,
Is
that
that
is
crazy?
crazy. That is crazy. So
So
now
it
you've
it,
had this
it, it
JP22 for a while, right?
no, this is the latest. I say the latest and greatest. It's the last version. It's got the ambi mag release and slide release and all that kind of stuff on it. But
Okay.
they just there's, I think it's like Gen 3 or so of the bolt. So it's a little bit lighter bolt design. They made some improvements. That's really the biggest improvement. Of course, it's got the ultra lightweight barrel, which I was piloting with them. I don't know, probably 3 years or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they just made a change. I think I've got the last receiver off the line that doesn't have the Smith and Wesson 22 magazines. You can still use a Black Dog. That's what I shoot, Black Dog magazines through mine. They have a shim that you can put in the mag well to cant the mag just a little bit differently. But yeah, so this one's a new one. I've got I'm gonna flex for just a second. I've got 3 of them. And the earlier versions, there was some opportunities with the bolts with consistent reliability with ignition. So if you do have a older bolt, before this last generation, if you reach out to JP, they'll machine off just a little bit in the back of the bolt to give it a little bit more positive ignition with a hammer hitting the firing pin. And I
Okay.
shoot helium. Yeah, I
I
shoot
have
helium
that.
ammunition. It's a little bit harder brass.
Mhm.
So yeah, so if you've had some light strikes with it, some of it, I'm not saying that's all of it, because certainly if you start messing with triggers and springs and stuff like that, that can, an AR platform, you can get into some light strike situations. But I think I've run, I don't know, 4 or 5,000 rounds through it. I've had one malfunction out of about 5,000 rounds. Don't judge me, but I haven't cleaned the gun yet. And the malfunction was actually a light strike, but boy, it looked like it hit it hard enough to detonate. So
It
hey,
could have been the round.
yeah, could have been, could have been,
I mean,
could have been.
I
So
always have a lot of fun when I have those things happen. It's like, okay, get that round, put it back in the mag, but twist it and try to make a flower out of the strikes on the rim to see if to guarantee in my brain, okay, this wasn't the gun, it was the round.
yeah, yep, for sure.
So, because
So
I forget when I bought it 2-3 years ago, one of the JP22s. So you're saying that for me and anyone else, you can send your bolt in and they'll do some modifications to it for more reliability.
yeah, yep. What they do is they take the back of the bolt. I think I've got some pictures somewhere. I sent in my my other two, and they machined the back off, and it took care of any sort of ignitions. It wasn't quote unquote bad, but it wasn't 100%. It wasn't at the level that guys like you and I, when we're pulling the trigger, wanna see.
Well,
And if you use,
when I
go
first
ahead.
got mine, I was having like 2 out of 10 light strikes. And I was like, what is going on? Well, I called them and they started talking me through. And one of the first questions was, what color is the hammer spring?
Yeah,
And it turns out I had the medium weight hammer spring. And they sent me the heavier hammer spring and didn't have any problems since then.
yeah. They sent you. I think it's the red one. Is
Yes,
it?
the red one is the heavy one.
Yeah. So I run the yellow. I think it's a yellow color. It's the lightest hammer spring, and then get 100% or as close to it reliability out of it.
With this
With that modif
with this bolt
That's
change.
correct. That's
Cool.
correct. Yep.
Well,
Because
I'll have to
with
get
that
on the
hammer
horn.
spring, yeah, with the red hammer spring, it may have did it increase your trigger pull at all? Maybe just a dash.
I'm not good enough to know that.
All right. Because I think if you go down to it, send reach out to Ben or one of those guys, send your bolt in, they'll machine off the back of it, or Dave, and you can probably go down to a yellow. I'm guessing you'll be able to get at least half a pound, if not a pound, lighter trigger pull.
Okay,
But
cool.
making that, of course, every fire control group and gun's different, but in my experience, that's the changes that I've seen. Yep.
Sweet. Well, let's do some more talking about the WSSC. And we've got someone who just connected in who needs to unmute his connection. And once he does that, we'll announce that we are talking to, he's still muted. Come
Yes,
on,
too.
you can do it.
I'm sure what he's saying is very inspirational and moving for our
Yes.
audience.
Oh, he's a leader among men. And now he's unmuted, and we have the one, the only, the stats guy, the match director of the WSSC, Zach Jones. Zach, how you doing?
Well, I'm good, except for I can't tell time, or since I'm a little bit late.
We're not going to discuss about being late for meetings, okay?
Okay.
After what happened earlier this week with me.
Oh, yes, we won't go there.
Well, Zach, we were just, pontificating a lot about the WSSC, considered a very successful match. I think the final number was 694 guns, which is close, to within a stone's throw of the 712 record. And it's back again next year at the the CMP.
Absolutely. I really like that range, and I like having that match there. That's getting to be the fastest steel on earth, if you think about it, where all the world records have been set for the last 6 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there was what? I think there were three match records set in the main man in the overall, and we had two ladies records set, and a host of stage records, I believe, were set at that match.
Absolutely. And we had, new names showing up setting records, people like Adam Reno, his name's on a few records. Lance Jr. is a record holder. Carly
did you see
Chadwick.
that? Did you see the pendulum record that Alex Burns set on PCCI?
Oh yeah.
It's insane. He crushed pendulum. He came down. He and his dad shot the WSS or the West Florida Steel, and he crushed pendulum. And he shoots that stage like most people shoot Smoke and Hope. It's crazy.
Yeah, these kids. I think we're going to have to come up with a new rule that you have to be 21 or older to shoot WSSC, because they're just too darn fast.
Some of them are approaching that age.
Well, okay, make it 25 then.
I know we need the 40 and over division. I mean, hey, I got a job and some kids and some friggin' debt like a house payment. That division. I'll work on the name just a little bit, but you know what I'm talking about, fellas.
Well, yeah, the dink doesn't work because it's not double income, no kids. It's like double income with kids and other interests. But still
grumpy old men.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Zach, we were just talking too about. I mentioned, I thought that really you end up polishing a diamond every year when the WSSC is back there at the CMP. This year, it seemed to be the position of the stages in the bays tended to be just perfect. And Steve had mentioned, that's how they were set up for Alabama, and I think that's a lot to go with the people that set that match up. If there was one thing you could do better at this match, what do you think it would be? I mean, is there anything that you think you could improve upon?
Well, there's always room for improvement. I mean, we could have, the perfect sunshine every single day, mild breezes.
Let me know how you
and things
control
like
that, because I've got a date for the West Florida next year. I need to put in for, mild weather. So
yeah, exactly. If we could do that, I could make a mint, I could retire and just be a weatherman or whatever. You want good weather for your match? Well, hire me and I'll bring the good weather. But, we were fortunate this year. We did have some rain that came in, but it was nothing serious. We had some wind that came in and it blew a few things around, but that's all stuff you have to deal with. And we fortunately had a fantastic crew of staff there, and they're the ones who really make the match what it is. I do what I do, the stats and stuff like that, but it's the ROs and the 8 bays that are running all the competitors. They're the real superstars of the match.
100%.
Yeah, the staff was and has been the last few years there, right on point. And I don't want to glance over this too much, but the stages were, I think, left up from the Alabama State match 4 weeks prior. Carl and his team for the Alabama State match, if you didn't know that it was the Alabama State match, you would have thought it was the World Speed Shoot. High quality ROs. We saw a lot of them that ended up ROing the World Speed Shoot, but yeah, those guys did a fantastic job with setup. The one concern that I don't know how many matches I've shot there, fellas, maybe 20, 30, 40 match. I don't know. It's been more than a couple. I've never seen, ever have I seen whatever those little flying ant things that would land and the wings would fly off. What was that all about?
Well, the no-see-ums. I remember one year.
Oh, no, you could see them.
Oh, you could see these? Okay. Wow.
So somebody said that they were what the heck are they?
Sandflies?
Termites. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
What?
Oh.
No, they got too much. Well, I mean, termites would be coming out to get those 2x4s, but if you really want to be gnawing on a 2x4 that might get shot, you're kind of a dumb termite if you think about it.
Well, that was like, remember, Zach, the last match you had for South Carolina, and we were shooting in that quarry, and we're shooting the stages, and there's birds flying in and out of their their homes that they've
Homes.
built into
Yeah.
the quarry walls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just, it's like, okay, we got to stop because we got a butterfly or whatever on a plate, or watch out, there's a bird on that post. Yeah, there you see some crazy things in these matches, that's for sure.
Well, it's definitely, and the CMP has been doing, a lot of improvements too. It looks like they had some more paving that was done.
Yes.
And if you look to the left or right as you were coming in, they're building more bays.
They absolutely are. They are a great range for us to be a partner with. And also, Steve, to echo what you said about Carl, and also Chris Stewart is another guy who worked on the setup for Alabama State.
Yep.
Those guys
Absolutely.
did a bang up job.
Yes.
Absolutely. When I first got there, I walked the stages and I told Troy, I said, we can start shooting that right now. Let's go get our guns. He was like, well, we got to wait till Wednesday.
Can't we just practice down here, please, please?
Yeah.
No, and again, that whole facility setup, lots of parking, the practice bays, the bays set up, an area for the vendors. It's, again, year after year, just knock it out of the park with having that match there. And as before you came on, Zach, I was telling Steve, it's like old home days. You're getting to see the people that you've seen on Facebook and you don't necessarily get to see all year, and everybody congregating there. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of handshaking, a lot of hugging, and a lot of new faces, which was really cool. So
Yeah, it is. It's the match is growing. I mean, there's a variety of people attending. There's some that have been there all 6 years. There's others that this was their first year, and hopefully those next year there'll be other people that it's their first time there. So it's definitely a good match, and one that everybody that's a steel challenge shooter is welcome to come shoot.
and I think everybody that is a shooter should try to get there at least once. In fact, I'll call out a good friend of mine, John Beach, and Zach. I know John, and Steve. I think you know him. He runs our stats down at the WAC, and John fell into the new distinguished senior category, and was able to pull off third place in RFRO, and it was kind of like the Diane McCoy story from last year. He wasn't at awards, and I got to deliver him his award, and that smile just says it all, And I know there's been some different opinions and things going on about the distinguished senior, but for John, it worked out really well for him to be able to pull out an award. That was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That is definitely cool.
All right. Hey, Zach, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Who on earth decided on the guy doing the awards presentation? Who gave that guy a microphone, Zach? Was that you? Did you make that decision? Were you under the influence?
He has a very melodic voice. I was very entranced by his presentation, Steve. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, sometimes you leave a microphone sitting around and somebody picks it up 2 years in a row. I mean, what are you going to do? But we did try to go through the awards as quickly as we could because last year when we did it, we called the same person up 3 or 4 times. And then, this year we were like, okay, well, let's consolidate and call the person up and give them, consolidate as much as we can. And plus, I felt like a total dork standing over there getting my picture taken because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So, I mean, you got the blind leading the blind doing the awards, but hey, we got through it. So that's the important thing.
I think the awards presentation, I'm not sure how many people know how big of an activity that is, because that's really a fire drill, because you're just getting the last squads through, you're updating, there's arbitration, all that kind of stuff, and then you have to process all this information to make sure you're giving the right people the right award in a very short period of time. So no, my hat goes off to you. I think that the awards presentation itself went really well, even when Jeff had the microphone. Just for the
Yeah,
record.
well, it was tough. I mean, there was three of us sitting over at the table. Is Jeff, myself, and my daughter Stephanie, and we
Yep.
were pouring over the results and updating the documentation so that we had all the names and everything like that. And then, of course, we went to print 2 copies, and we ran out of doggone printer paper, which always happens, So we had to borrow some from the people there. They were kind enough to give us enough paper to print out the results, So we got through it. It's always something.
So I would say overall though, the match, I would give it an A. But if we're to be critical, what are a couple things, and this is just open, what are a couple things we could do to enhance it? Because I think that well run, we're timely. I mean, there's a tons of positives, which I think are important to articulate. And we've already done an okay job with some of it, but how do we make it just a little bit better? You guys got any feedback of just spitballing it?
I think the challenges are not necessarily trying to do it better, but maintain the quality every year, not resting on your laurels. And I think that's what the organization tries to do. Is they know what they've done in the past. I mean, I can remember 3 and 4 years ago, the awards was up there at the CMP on the lanai there, and it didn't really work out well. It was getting dark. There wasn't a whole lot of lighting. And so, moving to the Motorsports Hall of Fame, I think has been a huge benefit to the match. I think it was definitely neat for me. I think one of the improvements and one of the first timers, I think as a shooter, but also as a videographer, was Josh Froelich and his team. There was a lot of those quick form videos that came out that were a lot of fun to, see a message on Instagram or Facebook that something had been posted and go watch that, and seeing people, and they turned those around pretty fast. And I think that was a very positive aspect of the match.
Let's pause on that for a minute, because I think that's a very important point. From my perspective, I think that the quality of audio and video that those guys turned out real time, or maybe
Near real
that
time.
night, I think they did an exceptional job, especially the guy that did a little narration on how to shoot speed option, but that's another story for another time. But I think those guys did I think they did a really, really solid job. So I'm glad that I'm not sure if USPSA made that investment. It sounds like some of the sponsors may have kicked in to make that kind of investment. But I think whatever it was, I think they got a really good positive ROI on that. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It took it up a level, to your point.
They absolutely did do a great job. I mean, did you see that beast of a fifth wheel they pulled down there? I mean, if you got
Woo-wee.
equipment like that, you can't help but do good stuff, right?
Yeah,
Man,
they said they had their own studio in the back of that bad boy, which
yeah.
to crank out that content in a short period of time. No, I think that's fantastic. I think more matches need to leverage that to kind of get it out there a little bit more and publicize it.
I think one of the advantages that they brought to it was they were getting more of the ambiance of the entire match than necessarily just the super squads.
100%.
And
Yeah.
that was a neat feeling. So when you're watching those videos and you're going, you're almost watching them going, hey, wait, I made a video. I'm in that, and then, you might have just been, I think I was in one where I was painting a plate, and there was another one where the van was in the background, and just little stuff like that. It makes it more, I don't know, homey, you just feel more part of it. And that's a lot of fun. And that's nothing to take away from the videos that have been done in the past. This is just a different aspect. And it definitely added a new flair to the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
absolutely caught the essence of the match, if you will. That everybody, they was different people were filmed and stuff like that, doing different things, and then different techniques. I mean, there was some drone footage, there was some, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was first rate production, no doubt about it.
So, in terms of how do we make it better? Whew, I admit, Zach, don't throw anything at me. I wasn't super excited to see it a month later because I think the weather, we talked a little bit about a dash of rain and that, but overall, because that area of Alabama can get pretty steamy, sir. But I think it will be still okay at that time, but I don't want to get too much later than that. I think the only other two critiques that I have, just from being open, honest, and transparent with you, I still would like to see, Kurt Grimes does a fantastic job at his match. Jeff does it at his match. I've been to a couple others. Is to have people painting for the competitors, and I think that also helps the cycle. So I think that's one way to take it up a notch. We've talked about Kurt and his infamous snow cone ice cream truck delivering ice cream throughout the match, but
Kurt and Maria are out there just trying to get everybody a sugar high to give them a better chance. Okay. I've seen the snack cart. Okay.
They do a first rate match. I guess the only other slight critique that I have is when shooting as late as we did on Sunday, is we were a little bit delayed, I think, on the food/awards on Sunday night. And the only reason why that hits home to me is because I didn't take the next day off, and I rolled into my house about 1 a.m. and unpacked the car and put guns away. But in terms of critiques, I don't think that's a big deal. I do think the painting thing, I know that there's a lot of people that have opinions on it. But I would love to see that at a match at this level. It's just
Well,
my opinion.
I'll say this. I ate from Bobby's barbecue at least 2 or 3 times throughout the match, and he did cater the finals, and I know, or the awards, and I did overhear them when they were setting up saying, "Oh my gosh, they've got ovens here. Next year we're going to cook at the we're going to see what we can do about cooking at the Motorsports Hall
Sure.
of Fame."
Sure.
Which would definitely I think speed up part of the process. I know we caused a little bit of a rigmarole because we were doing the awards, coming up with all the awards, and I'm like, we better get food or we're not going to get anything. And we walked up there, and and everybody started rolling up, and we're like, "No, this is just for me and Zach and Stephanie. You guys don't get any."
Yeah, that didn't go over very well.
Yeah, we needed to
Yeah,
do that maybe a little more stealthily than we did.
Yeah, like have them make a plate behind the curtain and sneak it over to us. Steve,
you three were the most popular people in all of Steel Challenge for those 3 minutes. I can guarantee you that.
Well, hey, there's my claim to fame. I caused a
There you
Russical
go.
food
There you
line.
go.
Yeah. Now, I do want to go back and address one of your points, and that's with the scheduling. There's something you got to look at from an organizational standpoint is all of the matches that USPSA has to schedule, for the national championships in WSSC.
Sure.
But not only that, the CMP area, the Talladega area of Alabama, is getting to be an extremely popular place for sporting events other than WSSC. For example, we have to schedule around IDPA that likes to use that range. Block, GSSF, they use that range. And then there's also other sports that are not shooting sports that are hugely popular out that way, and that's softball and baseball and soccer. So, we were working with everybody between the hotels and the range and things like that to see, okay, when can we fit something in? When, and it worked out that slipping it, a month, it was the best option for us. Yeah, it's going to be warmer, but it's also I've heard some positives in that, school is typically going to be out by that time, and so those dang fast kids, won't have to miss any school. So
Then we need to have it in like,
exactly,
October, so they can't make it. I mean,
yeah. Well, but then we got to make sure we get it done before the time change.
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I mean it's always tough,
Well,
And as
the interesting aspect with me, Zach, on the date change is that being in the senior division and recording this here on Thursday the 18th. Tomorrow is my birthday, and I'll be
but you still don't have a
59.
home range.
I
So
still, oh well, I'm never gonna have a home range.
well, I mean, so don't be expecting one for your birthday. Okay.
I'm waiting. Steve is going to send me one of those little kits where you get to lay out your stages, on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it's like, here's your range, Jeff. Have fun. But I'm not actually, based on the time change, I am actually never going to be able to shoot the match as a 59-year-old because of my birthday's after this one, and then it's going to be before the next one. And it just is what it is. I told Zach, I said, as long as I think it was 2026, you have it before my birthday, I'll be good. I don't want to have to get up and I don't have to remember about super seniors. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, listen, that little ding was Zach telling me he's got to leave here. Zach, I do have one question that I would like to address with you. And that is, we ran, we've had the WSSC, we ran the numbers, and I would love to talk about, the peak time changes. So, what can you share with us about the peak time changes? Because I know the answers, but I want you to be able to share them.
Well, I could share lots of things, but you would not be able to publish this podcast. So,
well, that's no fun.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Wait a minute. Let me turn off the recording, and then we can tell Steve what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. So
your recording has been stopped. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. No, I mean, so per our requirement, we have done a review. We did meet, the majority of us, I should say, on the Steel Challenge Committee met earlier this week and reviewed them and discussed them. And I'm on the agenda for the board meeting next week to discuss with the full board. So I'm not sure if they're going to want to take the numbers and look at them and then, vote a month later, or if when they see them, that they're happy with the way they are and our methodology of coming up with our recommendation, and just go ahead and vote on them next week. So, I mean, I might be able to go into more details in a week or so, or it might be another month before we can actually explain, by stage and by division, why there was an adjustment, or the reverse, why there wasn't an adjustment. For example, if we didn't find that there was a minimum of 5 people that shot a qualifying time, then we didn't make any adjustment to that stage. So, and one thing about it too, that it's new, that people may not be that aware of yet, is that if, let's just say that the board adopts them the way that we're recommending they do, and you don't like where you are in your classification, you can always apply to have a classification downgrade, and we'll review your classifications, and if it's warranted, then we'll approve it. I mean, I know that there's
Now, to
several
get those
people.
downgrades, though, your new percentage would have to have dropped you below the minimum number for the class you're in, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. If you, like, for example, if you were dropping from a 94% master down to a 85.2, there's no need to do that, because 85 is the minimum for master, and so you would still be a master. But if it say, for example, dropped you down to a 84 or 83, then by all means, I could see approving that.
Super. Well, You've all heard it here that'll listen to this. Do not ask Zach. Do not ask me. Do not ask a board member what the changes are going to be. They've got to get a chance to review them and vote on them. And then once they are voted on, we'll be able to share that information. Because I know everybody who knows Zach and I know that we put our run the algorithms and we don't just, both of us run them and then we compare what we both came up with to make sure we both have it. So we have a kind of a double check there. We don't just assume the other one has done the right thing. But we're not allowed to share that until after it's officially voted on. So keep
Yeah,
that in mind.
The only thing I will share though is if there is a change that's approved by the board, my recommendation is going to be to the board is that change takes effect the 1st of 2024. So you'll have the remainder of 2023. If you really want to try and class up, then you'll be able to.
Yes, and that's a really good point, because if you once you maintain a classification or attain a classification, you are allowed to maintain it. I mean, a perfect example for me, based on the way some people may have realized that, I haven't shot a gun in a while and my percentage changed. Well, this is due to some of the rules that are in the bylaws with regards to the Steel Challenge, that the scores that are used to calculate your classification percentage is current year plus the previous two. So a good example would be for my optical sight revolver, I had broken the 95 barrier, gotten the GM, but if you were to go look at me right now, my percentage is a 94. Because some of those better scores that I shot, that I hadn't shot the gun except for just now at WSSC, were better than what I'd shot in the past 3 years. Because I mean, I shot that gun when we were all pushing for those early Club 13 4 or 5 years ago.
If we got one more second, I want to tell you about Club 13. I have some
Well,
news on that.
you know what? Let's finish up on Club 13. That sounds like a great one.
Okay, well, just this week, as many of you may or may not know, Palmetto State Armory has always sponsored Club 13. So the first 100 coins were gold, the second 100 coins were silver, and the third 100 coins are bronze. And we're up to 87 bronze coins issued as of this week. PSA has agreed to continue their sponsorship, and so Club 13 will live on for a minimum of another 100 coins. And then going forward, I think we're just going to go with a standard color of a pewter color. And they were ordered today, in fact, and I'll have them here, in a few weeks.
Well,
So
that's
once
fantastic news for everyone that's trying to get that Club 13 coin. This is going to allow just about everybody who's attempting, and those that are going to attempt it in the future, which, I always joke about it. It's the accessibility and willingness to shoot a revolver in a match.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I know that we're just about out of time, but real quick, limited optics, is that going to be a Steel Challenge provisional, or is it just USPSA? And I apologize if I'm not current with my USPSA intel.
No, it's a good question. It's a very good question.
It is a good question. And right now it's USPSA only. And if somebody has a heartburn with it, it's my fault. If you want to point the finger at somebody and say, well, you are the one who caused this or whatever, you can absolutely point your finger at me, because when we were discussing it with the board, I told him, I said, I don't think that it's a good idea for Steel. I said, for one thing, it's going to screw up Club 13. We're certainly not going to start all over with a Club 14.
That's what made me think about it, Zach. That's exactly what made me think about it.
It's like, okay, well, what division are you willing to give up so that we remain at 13? That's a question when people, ask me about it. I say, okay, well, there's two questions I ask if anybody asks me about limited optics. One would be, which division we give up so that we keep 13? And then would you go out and buy a brand new gun, or would you simply shoot your carry optics gun in it? And the vast majority are, well, we don't want to get rid of anything, or if they do, it was something that they didn't shoot to begin with. And then they were like, well, I've already got a, say, for example, you know, a Glock MOS. So I would just shoot it in limited optics.
Carry
So,
optics.
well, like their carry optics gun, they would take it and
Right.
you know,
But they would
shoot it
just
in-
they wouldn't get a new carry. They wouldn't get a full limited optics gun. They would just be shooting their carry optics gun.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah, that's
all
what
right,
I'm trying to say.
I'm the outlier. I would buy a new gun to shoot that division.
Well,
But
Steve,
I'm always looking for an excuse to buy another gun. Just saying.
I know. Don't you have like 18 JP5s or something like that? You've got more than anybody else in the country.
Well, I've got a couple of JPs and a couple of gun safes full of guns. But hey, you know what? It's just like you know, shoes. You can never have enough, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. I just don't have the cash flow that you have to support buying guns I don't shoot. So it's I just keep the ones that I've got running, which actually we'll talk about that you know, we've talked about it a lot, but you know, I'll say this with regard, you know, we've always talked about, and you joked about it, Steve, you put 5,000 rounds, you haven't cleaned your gun yet. World Speed Shoot ended. I'm not going to be able to shoot for probably another couple of weeks. I actually have a torn rotator cuff that I shot the WSSC with the torn rotator cuff. But I got home and I was taking apart my guns and was doing a deep clean. So I was taking bolts apart, and the bolt in one of my guns, the firing pin spring, had broken. And this gun ran 100% at WSSC. So I feel very fortunate that happened. But, you know, again, and I did post something on Facebook, and for all those that are wondering, you know, why don't my guns run? Maybe clean them every couple of thousand rounds and do a deep clean on them and check your stuff, because you can find those things that you didn't plan on having, even if the gun's running. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
Can I ship mine down to you, Jeff?
Unfortunately, I am not an FFL. You could ship it to Steve. He could clean it for you. No, wait.
Oh,
Steve
there
has a
we go.
clean gun.
Yeah, I don't clean guns. I just get new ones, Jeff. That rumor's true.
This one's dirty. I need to sell it to a friend or just put it away and get a new one.
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, good discussion, guys. It was great to get back together, and we'll get back on a regular podcast. Got a lot of feedback and a lot of questions during the World Speed Shoot about the podcast and how much people liked it. So,
yep,
the people have spoken, Jeff.
You got it.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep these a little shorter format and try to get them done on a much more consistent basis and just have some fun and get the information out there. So, hey Zach,
Yep.
what's the next big match coming up? We got an area match coming up this weekend, don't we?
We do. Area 3 is this weekend. Then I want to say Area 1 is the weekend after that. And then, oh, by the way, speaking of Area 2, I will be out there. So I am expecting that ice cream.
Oh,
So just
there you go.
throwing that out there, Kurt.
Zach needs a sugar high.
Yeah. Diabetes be darned, right? Since this is a family friendly show, you can't say what I actually would say.
Yes, fair enough.
Oh no,
All right, guys.
no, we stopped recording about 20 minutes ago. Go ahead.
Oh, that's
Zach.
right. Okay.
Say what you want. Say what you want. Damn it, he's not falling for it, Steve. We almost got it.
Yeah.
That was a close one.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And you know, we end every podcast, Steve. I know it's still valid, given that podcast discount code for rangestore.net.
Yeah, ST Podcast 10 at
10% off your
rangestore.net.
order. All right.
Yep. All right. We'll
Thanks
see you, fellas.
everybody. Bye-bye.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.